So I'm going to explain to you how you can make your own Rekenrek. Now, I would only do this if you have already got quite a lot of these craft things in your house already. If you have to go out and buy the special glue, you need to buy a big packet of lolly sticks, you need to buy beads and everything, it's probably not worth it, and you're probably worth just buying a normal Rekenrek. You can buy them for anything between £4 and £10 on eBay or other places like eBay. So if you decide that you want to make a Rekenrek, and you might want to do this actually with your child as a craft activity, you're going to need 12 large lolly sticks, and you're going to need some particularly strong PVA glue. This one's sold as wood glue, but it's the water resistant PVA glue that is going to be very, very sticky, and it's not going to come unstuck. You're going to need some cording, and this cording is apparently the cord that you use for making Roman blinds, and it's got no stretch in it whatsoever. And you're going to need plenty of white and red beads, and they need to be exactly the same size as each other, so that the only difference is the colour. And you're going to need some pegs. So the first thing you do is you make up one of these 6 grids, making sure that the ones on the end, as you can see, the ones on the end are the one on the outside each time. And as you put together that first lot, you then put pegs on each of the joints until it's all nice and dry. And then you remove the pegs, and then you make a second one to go on the back. And I would recommend it doing separately rather than making 2 and then trying to put them together, because there's a possibility they won't quite fit. So the second time you put it together on top of it, and you glue it all together onto the one you've already got. And again, then peg all the corners and the middle to make it all stick, and then wait for it to dry. So once it's dry, it's really quite rigid and it should be okay. If you notice, there's like a gap down the ends, and that's where we're going to put the cording. So the first thing to do is that we decide to put the cord through. I've made like a knot on the end, which is about, I don't know, just a bit over an inch, isn't it? And I'm going to stick that through the gap, and then I'm going to pull it through, and I've got it like that. Now this is going to be, that's going to be my best side, and that's going to be the side we're going to end up doing things from. And then this is the side that we're going to have as our working side. So now it's time to start putting the beads on. So there we go, I've got them all counted out there, and we're going to need to try and thread them through. And you may find this a little bit tricky, and I have found it a bit hard previously, and it can be an idea just to snip the end again, and if all else fails, just put a tiny dab of the glue on the end, just so it's a tiny blob, so that it doesn't unfurl, and wait for it to dry, and then start to thread them. So I'm going to thread on, and I'm going to thread on 5 of the white ones. So there we go, I've got 5 white ones on, and now I'm going to swap to red. There we go, we've got all 5 of them on. And now it's all about tying it off. And I'm going to put it through the gap, bring it up. It may be you decide, if you've got one of those really, really thick needles, wool needles, you might decide to use that to get it through, get the beads on, which would be much easier. I, at the moment, can't find my needle, so that's why I was trying to do it by hand. Now, what we need to do is we need to pull this as tightly as we possibly can. And you notice I'm doing it all on that one side, so that side looks good. And I'm going to bring those up slightly higher up, and now I'm going to pull this through with as much tension as I can, and then I'm going to put my thumb, once I've pulled it right through, I'll bring it over, and I'm going to put my thumb on the top. Now I'm going to feed the cord back through and without losing any of the tension, I'm going to pull it through around again and put it through. So I've now got it with, hopefully without having lost any of the tension, and now I'm going to try and tie this. I've ended up with slightly short end, but that'll be okay. So I'm going to just try and tie it round onto that. And now I'm just going to put a tiny blob of my special glue just on that knot and all on that string there, so that it doesn't budge. I do just want to make sure I've got it in the place that I want it. And if I'm sure, I'm going to have one here, one there, and I'm sure I've got them level, I'm going to put glue on that side as well. Five of them on there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yep. And now I'm going to put my 5 red beads on. So I have got all of my 10 on there. And again, I'm going to go through the middle, pull it through, and again try and pull it as tight as I possibly can. And this is quite tricky to get it with enough tension in it. This time I didn't cut any off because I didn't want to end up with a really stubby end, so it does mean I've got a really long piece. You'll probably be somewhere in between. So again, put it through, pull it through, make sure it's really, really tight. Now this should work a little bit easier because I've got a proper end to do it with. So I'm going to try and show you again clearly what I'm doing. So first of all, I'm just pulling a loop round to it. Now I'm pulling it back round, putting it through its hole. So just making lots of little knots on there. And to be honest, 2 is probably enough. And now I'm going to cut that off with a reasonable amount of end. I'm going to tidy those up right at the end. So that's all my cording used. And now again, I'm going to make sure I'm really happy with where they're sitting on from top to bottom. If I'm happy with that, then I'm going to put myself over some glue on that just to make sure that it sticks properly. Probably put a little bit too much that time, but there we go. So this will make a nice bond, and once it's all dry, you're going to be able to trim off the all of the spare cords really close to it, but I'd wait until it's completely dry, and then you're going to be able to use your Rekenrek. So that is how to make your own Rekenrek.